My name is Mike Terrio. I'm a project manager with Wright Pierce. We're a consulting engineering firm out of Manchester that have been helping the Plymouth Village Water and Sewer District and the town of Plymouth on infrastructure upgrades. In particular, we're here today to talk primarily about Main Street. We've got a brief presentation to share. We've got a lot of subject matter to go over. For some of you that might have attended the public information meeting we held in the fall, some of this may seem like repetitive information, but we have updated a lot of the slides, in particular to mitigate some concerns that were expressed from the businesses, to go into a little bit more detail on the justification for these projects and the timing, as well as to provide some additional answers to some of the questions that have come up from the first public hearing that we had. This particular Zoom seminar is a webinar type function. So aside from the panelists, which includes town officials, Plymouth Village officials, and those of us from Wright Pierce, everybody is generally muted. You will have the opportunity to raise your hand throughout the seminar. We ask that attendees please save their questions until the end. We do have quite a few questions and answers that we've kind of preloaded into the presentation that might answer some of those that might come up during or throughout the presentation. And then at the end of the presentation, we will take some questions, and we will also explain how to sign up for project notifications and how you might be able to submit written questions online through a web portal. With this, right now, I'm going to start the presentation, and I'm going to mute all the panelists for now, just so that there's no noise, background noise potentially happening. Let's see. All right. So again, my name is Mike Terrio. I'm a project manager with Wright Pierce. I've been working with the Plymouth Village Water and Sewer District for probably about 8 years now. We've recently begun assisting the town of Plymouth with some of their drainage needs. We're supposed to be joined here today by Bill Bolton, the select board chair. However, he is unable to attend. So we have Mary Ann Barnsley joining us, as well as some other select board members. Judy DeLeo, the chair for the Plymouth Village Water and Sewer District, is here, as well as other board members from the Plymouth Village Commission. A brief overview of some of the items that we're going to be talking about today, really going into a little bit more depth and detail as to the project background, why it's critical now. I mean, we're in the COVID issues this year. Why are these projects important now, and some of the background for leading up to where we are today? Some of the challenges we face as a team, both as a design team and as government entities that answer to the constituents. Some of the challenges that we are looking into to help mitigate concerns that have been expressed by residents and businesses. We're going to go over the project. And then again, as I had mentioned, we have some kind of questions and answers that we're hoping to shed some light on to those of you that may have concerns. Back in the fall, we did have a public meeting that, generally went out. There were passed flyers for that public meeting. There were notifications of the meeting that went in billings. And we took a survey of business owners. What were some of the concerns that the businesses and residents might have with such a project like this? And overall, we kept seeing some similar answers, is that hey, this is really going to impact my business. We're already struggling with COVID-19. Maybe with the reduction of students at Plymouth State. Why is this happening now? What's the urgency? And the team came back and we've kind of brainstormed what can we do to best mitigate these concerns. We understand this project has to go on. There are dire needs for infrastructure upgrades for water, sewer, and drainage. But how can we best address these to the businesses and the residents to minimize impacts? Primarily, we're going to be looking at a lot of night work, particularly in the downtown area, so that we can avoid conflict between construction crews and when businesses are frequently open during the day. We don't want to interrupt the business. So, let's do a good chunk of the work at night. And that requires a little bit of extra coordination. But as long as we build it into the design documents, would feel like we're going to have a good situation or a better situation to mitigate impacts. We're outlining or working on outlining some traffic and detour routes, so that as the work progresses through different areas of Main Street, it's transparent where cars that don't need to access downtown, where they might be detoured through. We're working on developing a parking inventory and working with private landowners to potentially partnership to increase some additional parking, so that when work is occurring there, it's transparent where cars can park, and these will be worked out ahead of time. And then we're also working on some scheduling alternatives, sequence of construction, defining maximum durations of construction in certain areas so that we can minimize that duration and any impact on businesses and residents. So how did we get here today? In general, we did a water system master plan probably about 7 or 8 years ago. Of that, we identified that water infrastructure is ancient. It's nearly 100 or more years old. There were, severe risks if there were to be a water main break, and what that would mean for the town of Plymouth as well as the downtown area. So the water system upgrade is really the number one driver based on risk. The water main is old cast iron pipe and lacks isolation valves to be able to shut off in the event of a water emergency. We also looked at the sewer interceptor, which isn't really following on Main Street. It comes down Main Street to the circle and then deviates off to Green Street on the riverside or the backside of the Main Street businesses. And then recently we've gotten involved with looking at the town of Plymouth's drainage. That drainage was built in the 1930s by DOT when they came in and put in Route 3. It's 85 years old and severely decrepit. So, if we're going to open up construction for some of these infrastructure upgrades, knocking everything off at once seems to be the most cost-effective and the least impactful to the businesses, meaning come in, do the construction, finish paving, and be gone. The water main improvements are necessary to maintain a safe drinking water supply. The water main is going to be upsized. It's very undersized right now, not only for providing domestic water service, but also it's not capable of meeting fire flow needs in the downtown denser areas. So the water main will be upsized so that, in the event that there is an emergency in the future, there's adequate water for firefighters. And then on the wastewater side, just the need to maintain an effective collection system that's in good integrity so that sewage continues to be conveyed down to the wastewater plant. The no work concept, or the concept of not doing anything, is not really feasible. As I had mentioned, there's a lack of isolation valves on the water main side. There's been a number of repairs over the years. The sewer main has, encountered bricks and debris that have been decomposing from the inside of the sewer main and manholes. And if we continue without doing these improvements, water main breaks will obviously be unexpected. They have the potential to have long-term disruption and would be unanticipated, not only for the water main break, but any subsequent water main repair to mitigate that. On the drainage side, if we don't do anything, given the fact that the drainage is nearly 85 years old, there's a high potential for sinkholes to potentially form. That means holes develop in the drainage pipe, and the surrounding soil gets washed out into the river. So really being proactive to fix those before a more significant issue develops. With the current infrastructure projects that we have or we're looking at, the Plymouth Village Water and Sewer District has obtained a funding package through the federal government for about 45% grant funding on the water and sewer work. And we're currently assisting the town with a grant funding package on the drainage work. And it's really the cost of these infrastructure projects is quite high. So maximizing that grant funding will in turn reduce burden on taxpayers and water and sewer users. Those funding packages generally have a deadline. We've been given a deadline in some areas of this work of 2023 from the federal government, and another one from 2022 for one area and 2023 for another area. We talked about water main breaks. Just looking at Main Street, we've had a number of breaks over the years. Just between Highland Street and the Circle, there's been probably 9 breaks in total, 7 breaks alone at the intersection of Highland Street, and a couple of breaks south of Highland Street. And it's important to note, when a water main breaks happen in this area, the area outlined in red, the entire water service for that area would need to be shut down to address a water main break, again, due to the lack of isolation valves and the age of the system. So if there were to be a water main break on Main Street, the entire downtown area, the town hall area, and portions of Plymouth State would be shut down until that fix is repaired. This is not a new thing to Plymouth. These headlines are back from the 80s. Now again, back in the 80s, the water main was still 70 to 80 years old. But back in the 80s, there were water main ruptures that caused Plymouth State to be evacuated, all 3,000 students at the time, and the remaining residents and businesses that stayed in town had to go into extreme water conservation until the comprehensive repairs could be made. So really trying to avoid a repeat of any situation like this. In terms of the overall project, the overall projects, more than just Main Street, the line in blue represents the full extent of the water main replacement, starting at the south on Warren Street, going up to Main Street, all the way up to where it crosses the railroad at the end of Old North Main, and the remainder of Old North Main and under the Baker River. On the sewer side, we're going to be replacing the sewer from the end of Old North Main Street, coming down to the circle, and then following Green Street past the courthouse down to the wastewater plant. The town's drainage work includes areas of Main Street from Highland to Warren, as well as the majority of Russell Street, which the Russell Street area currently connects to the Main Street stormwater system. Today, our focus really is on Main Street, the businesses, the residents. How can we best deal with the construction in these areas? The town nor Plymouth Village, want to cause any extreme heartache to the businesses that we want to see striving in the future. So today's focus will be primarily on the work between the Circle and Warren Street. Just to outline some examples, when construction occurs, we're not going to be shutting down the road. We're not going to be, opening up a trench that's the full width of Main Street with no traffic allowed. We're talking about one utility being replaced at a time within a trench. Picture on the left shows an example of what this might look like for a water main replacement, a sewer main replacement, or a drainage line, where it's a limited trench width, to the extent possible, 2 lanes of traffic will be maintained. They may have to shift over with cones around the construction zone. And then in some other areas, we may have one-way alternating traffic at times. Again, keeping in mind that a good chunk of this in the downtown area will be done at night during a time when there's less traffic than during the day. Another example of the photo on the right. For some of the sewer main repairs, sewer is usually a little deeper, so the trench can be a little larger. However, a good chunk of the sewer repairs are going to involve cured in place pipelining. This is a trenchless technology where they can install a fresh liner in the sewer pipe from the ground above. This minimizes the construction zone that's needed, where they are only accessing the sewer at access point. So a couple of photos here from work we've done in New England. In terms of the schedule, we had a public meeting in November. We're having 2 today, one right now, as well as a repetitive public meeting at 7 o'clock tonight for those who were unable to attend the morning meeting. Following this meeting, we have draft design documents that will be ready to review. We envision having small group public meetings with individual geographical areas, Old North Main Street, North Main, South Main, a couple different areas, so that we can meet with the smaller groups and really, look at the drawings. We can understand your concerns. Do we need to consider moving something here, moving something there, but gaining your input. From there, we're going to complete design and go out to bid. We will have the opportunity. There will be another public meeting once we have a general contractor. And there will be a lot of requirements for that general contractor to have proper notifications and interaction with the public. So it will be important to have that open line of communication. We're envisioning construction beginning next fall. Even after the project's been awarded, There's usually a couple months of delays for some administrative paperwork before work actually begins on site. But at this time, we're envisioning construction beginning in the fall of this year. As I mentioned before, we have a couple of different funding deadlines. A portion of the work currently needs to be completed by June of 2022, and the remainder of the work by June 2023. Some of the challenges that we face that we're currently working on and encourage input from the public. Again, just having a lot of transparency with these public meetings, both with the design team and then with the construction team. As some of you may have participated in, we did quite a few reviews and testing and inspections of sewer and stormwater collection services last summer. We appreciate those of you that let us inspect your services and your business or your home. And then really working to minimize or mitigate impacts on residents and businesses, maintaining water service through temporary water mains, minimizing service interruptions, maintaining access to driveways, access to stores, sidewalks, and parking. And then, really the night construction is anticipated to be the biggest mitigation factor to help reduce impacts. In terms of traffic, where possible, we'll be doing lane shifts to maintain two ways of traffic. Where this is not possible, we may have one lane alternating traffic. There will be some, for those people that are just driving through town and not stopping in town, there'll be some detours set up to minimize any congestion in town. People can drive around the work zone. There'll be accommodations made for emergency vehicles as well as local truck traffic. If you have deliveries, those accommodations will be made, as well as maintaining pedestrian access. We talked a lot about the potential for night work. Right now, the design team is proposing night work to occur on the northern limit, just north of the furniture store, past the circle, all the way south, just to the south of the Flying Monkey. We're hoping to do this at night, again, to minimize the impact on businesses. We realize there are some of you that may have residents combined, living upstairs from your business. So we'll want to hear from you in particular to, understand, if we're not impacting the businesses in the day, it may be a burden slightly at night. So, we just want to hear from you as to that. I talked a little bit about, some longer term detours that would be set up. Again, this is primarily targeting people that are through travelers. As the work progresses down Main Street, there'll be a couple of different detour routes that we have identified. Again, this is where, when we're doing one-way alternating traffic, just to minimize congestion and keeping in mind that this is happening at night. In terms of through trucks, there'll be a through truck route identified. There are some town ordinances restricting truck traffic on Highland. So in general, trucks will be detoured around. And again, this is for non-local trucks. Anybody that has the need for delivery, those trucks will be accommodated as usual to go through downtown. Talked a little bit about parking. We've been doing an inventory to identify the public parking areas. And in addition to that, identify additional parking that maybe a private landowner or with Plymouth State. The design team will be reaching out to these private landowners and Plymouth State to coordinate some sort of partnership so that when work is occurring, there are options to park vehicles other than in the area of the work zone. The attendees today were generally notified of this meeting by an individual email. Plymouth Village has opened up a part of their website to have a project-specific website with updates. This will include updates like the public meetings that we're having today. The slides will be available. But more important, as we get into construction, site-specific construction updates, schedule updates, and where is construction occurring. This requires an opt-in for updates, so businesses and residents can go to the Plymouth Village website, type in your name and your email address, and you can sign up for future updates. In the event that you have a question in the future, or you do not feel like asking a question in this webinar today, you can also go to the website, type in your question, and that will get routed to the design or the construction team where we can have the opportunity to respond to you. In the future, what kind of information is going to be up on that website? As we get closer to construction, we'll have a complete project construction schedule. The contractor is going to be required to, on a weekly basis, provide a more detailed 2-week look-ahead schedule that can give you notification of when work might be happening in front of your business or your neighbor or down the street. There'll be project maps available, the identification of what type of construction. Are they doing a main line? Are they doing services? And then again, the opportunity to submit questions, or in the event of an emergency or something unusual happening that you see, some emergency contact information that will put you in touch with representatives of the district, of the town, or the construction team. Some of these questions, again, might be a little bit repetitive from the public meeting we had in the fall. So those of you that attended, just bear with me. There are some new questions towards the end. How will you know if there'll be construction work on your street? There will be passed out messages. There'll be electronic signboards. There'll be the project website. Will the contractor block your driveway? When the work is occurring, the contractor will be giving, in general, a 24 to 48 hour heads up. And we will accommodate any special access needs in the event that, some interruption would need to be made, and it would only be for a short period of time. Interruptions to the sidewalk. In most cases, the sidewalk is usually on town property and may need to be temporarily disturbed for a service tie-in. Any disturbances will generally be coordinated ahead of time. The sidewalk will be restored to pre-construction conditions or better. Will Main Street get new pavement? All streets that are involved with this project will be either getting a new trench patch or full width surface pavement. So they will be restored to pre-construction conditions or better. Can you still flush your toilets during the sewer work? Typically during the mainline work, yes, this isn't a problem. In the event they're doing an actual sewer service connection for your home or business, there may be a couple hours of interruption that the contractor will request. Similarly, on water mains, will your business or house be without service? In general, the water mains going back in the same location as the existing one. To maintain service, a temporary water main and services will be provided. But during the final tie-in of your new water service, there may be an interruption for up to a few hours. Again, special needs will be accommodated and advance notice will be provided ahead of that. Will water meters be replaced as part of this project? In general, no. The district is aware of a few water meters that may need to be replaced, so they may reach out to select properties on that. If you have a question about your own water meter and how accurate or if it needs to be replaced, don't hesitate to reach out to the district. Will the sewer or water lateral, the service, be replaced in full during construction? In general, this project is intended to be within the public right-of-way. That's how funding agencies work. So on the water main side, it will be replaced up to the water. We call it a curb stop, but it's a little shut-off valve that's around the curb line or in the sidewalk. On the sewer side, it will be replaced up to the property line. How are customers going to be able to access my business on Main Street? Again, we're going to be providing either two-way traffic where possible or one-way alternating traffic. Sidewalk access will be maintained during construction. And again, night work is being considered in, for the majority of the downtown area. So for many of you, this may not be applicable. Where do my customers park? Again, if there's a work zone that it would be taking up the parking in front of your store, we will have that parking inventory that will get updated. And as we get closer to construction, that will be available on the website. We'll be handing that out to the businesses so you can pass that out yourself to your customers if needed. And again, we're looking for the opportunities to work or partner with private landowners in Plymouth State to identify additional parking opportunities. There are a lot of events happening downtown. We don't want to interrupt those. The contract documents will be worded so that no construction work can happen on holidays, and as well as several events that have been identified by the town in Plymouth State. So construction will be restricted on those dates. How does alternating traffic detour work? Effectively, and for those of you who haven't been through one of these, usually there's a couple of flaggers or police officers. One direction is held while the other is allowed to go. Once traffic minimizes, they switch. And so it's an alternating traffic to keep things maintained. Again, a lot of this for those of you, it will be happening at night. So hopefully with a minimal amount of traffic. With that, I want to thank you for the opportunity to present and inform you today. I'm going to open the floor up to questions. Again, given that this is a webinar function, you have the opportunity to raise your hand, and I will allow individuals to talk, on a case-by-case basis. All right. For the panelists that are with us, do any of you have anything to add on top of this?
This is Don John. Nothing other than indicating that if questions occur to you, don't hesitate to either write them into on the website or pick up the phone and call the district and someone will get back to you we can answer specific questions. I've already had a conversation with several people, and we're happy to continue to have those conversations to make sure that people understand how this is being laid out and how it's likely to impact the folks on Main Street.
And I just want to thank everybody for coming and listening. And these meetings will continue so that we can keep everybody apprised of what's going on. We don't want anything to be a secret. We don't want anybody to be surprised. We'd like to keep this as transparent and smooth rolling as possible. So thank you for spending 8:30 to 9:15 with us this morning.
Mike, I do have a couple questions, if that's all right.
Sure.
So it's going to start fall of 21 or fall of this year. When's the expected completion date for at least Main Street up into the Rotary?
In general, I'd say the majority of the work will probably be done in the 2022 season. And then the work in the spring of 2023 was probably just be like cleanup, punch list, establishing growth on lawns or final paving. When the contractor does start in the fall of this year, they're probably not going to go at it with gangbusters just because there's only a few months to work before cold weather. So really kind of see that the largest amount of the construction activity happening in 2022.
So is that spring, summer, fall? Just a guess.
April to November would be the brunt of the work.
Okay. And night work, what times do you think you're looking at for night work?
We haven't decided on a particular time quite yet, whether work would be allowed to be started at 7 p.m., 8 p.m., or 9 p.m., and then finish up by 5 or 6 a.m. So okay. I guess, there may be some feedback from the town or businesses that might be valuable to that. In general, we would like to leave a 8 to 10 hour construction period at night. So, I suppose things could start as late as 9 o'clock.
Okay. And then just deliveries. I know most of us get deliveries on Main Street. How will that be handled? Will the trucks have to park in assigned, the parking that you folks will be working out, or?
No, we're, the construction team will be accommodating to, local deliveries. I know a lot of deliveries happen, first thing in the morning, for example, as construction's wrapping up. So, it's just going to be a matter of communication. If somebody knows they have a delivery and they know the work zone is in front of their store, just some communication, and the contractor can be accommodating. Okay. In general, we're not trying to prevent any truck from getting to its destination.
Sure. Thanks. You guys have provided a lot of great detail today. So thank you very much as a select board member and as a business owner on Main Street. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Still no questions from attendees?
Nope.
There is a question that came in, actually, the Q&A. Yeah.
Yeah, the Q&A, if a Main Street sewer that connects a building is fragile and old and becomes compromised or fails after the new sewer connections are installed, will water and sewer replace or repair connections to the property?
No.
In general, there's not intended to be any work on private property. And so, again, it's the replacement of the sewer service within the right-of-way is, not intended to detriment the remainder of the existing connection. But
anything that is on your property is your responsibility. So we go up to the curb stop for water. And that could, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, Don, correct me if I'm wrong, but curb stop for water, that could be at the street, that could be within your front, for a private house, it could be somewhere within your front yard, but everything after that curb stop would be your responsibility. The same thing is true for sewer. It goes to the sewer connection to your property. So we would replace the main sewer line and the connection to your property. Anything that goes from that connection into your building is your responsibility.
You're correct, Judy.
Okay,
We-
I
we
thought I
are-
was, but you
yeah.
gotta keep me honest.
We are looking at the possibility of getting some assistance, either directly or through one of the regional agencies, federal agencies, for low interest loans for folks who may find themselves in the position of either replacing, an inadequate sewer line, or they have a lead water service. That's the other thing we don't know. But we do know, we are certain that if you have lead service to your house, we're not allowed to reconnect. So we are looking at ways. We can't do it, we can't fund it, but we may be able to set up low interest loans that can accommodate getting that work done.
Okay, and we have a hand up and some questions. So Mike, I'm sure you saw that.
Yep. So the next question that we received, when will you have a detailed map of the timeline for repairs in particular areas of Main Street? We will have work and design plans ready for review we're going to have smaller group public meetings to look at the work that would be in front of your home or business. That will be happening over the course of the next couple of months. In terms of the timelines of repairs, there can be a little bit of variance from that based on the contractor's schedule. We will have some schedule restrictions, but I would say for that level of detail for the timeline, probably after we have a contractor that's hired to do the job, we can set aside an individual meeting to go over those timelines, when it would happen. Are we talking about night work in front of your home or business? Or are we talking, is it daytime work? We did have a hand up. I don't see it anymore.
It was John Ramlett, but maybe we answered his question.
Okay, another question there's John. John, you have a question?
Got to unmute him. John is muted.
Yep, John, you've got to unmute yourself.
Just wanted to say thank you. You guys did a really great job, and I think you've covered everything very well, and we appreciate this on behalf of the town. It's really, this will really help a lot of people, and cut down on a lot of questions when somebody watches this. So thank you very much.
Yeah, and we have a chat from Chuck Berman. During installation of new water lines on Main Street, is there an affordable way to, at that time, have a sprinkler main added to a commercial building?
I would say absolutely. I'd encourage you to reach out to the design team, and we can discuss the details. Now would definitely be the time to potentially add that. Again, from the project side, it would go up to what would be a sprinkler line shutoff or shutoff valve. And then, you need to coordinate the work on your property for that. But please do reach out to the design team through the website or by contacting us, and we can make sure that gets incorporated into the documents. All right. Any other questions For those who do not feel like asking a question today, again, please go to the Plymouth Village District website and go to the project website. There is a link from the town website to that project website as well. You can fill in your name, your email address, and ask your question, and the team will respond. But I wanted to thank everybody for attending, and if anybody's interested, we're doing this again at 7 o'clock tonight.
Reruns.
More the merrier.
Yeah. All right. I want to thank everybody. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you, everyone.